All right, welcome back to the Green Eyed Girl podcast. I have actually said this like 15 times and you just haven't seen it, but I have a cat that won't leave me alone today and the dog keeps barking and we're having a crazy fur critter day in this household. Anyway, I'm sorry if I seem irritated as I film this.
Let's go.
So, crash diet health, been talking about it for a while. Basically, I've been a lifelong yo yo dieter, blah, blah, blah. I actually finally changed my entire life. So, calorie deficit does work. Calories in, calories out. So, if you really constrain your calories when you're overweight, you will lose weight. However, the likelihood of being able to keep it off if you don't actually change your eating habits is, well, I'm the case study for it. I was always counting calories to lose weight and it works, but because I didn't change my actual lifestyle and what I was eating, 6, 8 months later, I'm back to gaining weight. So, it would be off for a little while. I was also mainly a cardio girl, so I would just get on the treadmill and go and go and go and go until I burnt 500 calories. It works, but it's not a good lifestyle fix. It is not a good long-term solution. It is a fast way to lose weight, but if you don't actually learn about the food you're eating, how your body actually works, all of the functionality, you don't actually have any long-term significant change. So, we changed our lives. And it started out kind of the same way that it always had for me in the beginning. We decided to eat healthier and restrict calories. We did little things, right? We cut out eating the ice cream and all of that stuff at night, whatever. We started meal prepping and I would do things like rice and a little bit of rice, a little bit of vegetable, a little bit of meat. That hasn't changed. We just don't do rice anymore because it's not actually okay to keep it longer than 24 hours. You should always make fresh rice and eat it within 24 hours. It actually grows a neurotoxic mold. Who knew? I certainly didn't. So, we started small. We just did meal prep. And at the time, our meal prep wasn't really even what it is today. I was doing like the little private selection Lunchable things that have like a little bit of crackers, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of meat, some olives. My husband was doing sandwiches and that kind of stuff. So, we had a slow start to it and just kind of did the same thing I had always done in a crash diet way and trying to make sure we were working out. And I was mainly doing cardio. And then on the weekends, we would go to the gym together. 'Cause at the time, we didn't have the home gym we do now. We just started as cutting back. So it mainly helped our budget. As we're going down this road, it doesn't look much different than what I did in the past, other than I started doing a little bit more research. My husband would ask me different questions 'cause he'd always been fit, he'd always been in shape, he'd always worked manual jobs until he was a trucker at the time, so he'd been over the road and home daily now for a little while when we got engaged. But he'd been trucking, so he'd been gone and he'd been more sedentary than he'd ever been in his life. So this was far and away the most weight he had ever gained. And in his younger days, he didn't have any problem keeping it off. He was in landscaping, etc. So he was asking me a little bit more detailed questions, which I never really did any research into. So I actually started digging a little bit more into food and what was good for us and started kind of going down the rabbit hole. Ended up, we started taking probiotics and some other small supplements here and there, vitamin C, whatever. And the further I looked, the more information I found. I was getting kind of sick of the Lunchables and that kind of stuff that I was eating. And I wasn't feeling great. I was losing weight, but I wasn't feeling super great. So we just we started figuring out really how terrible processed foods are and how terrible the cured meats that are in the deli and all of these things. So we really started kind of going down the rabbit hole. And I was like, okay, we need to make some larger changes. We cut out processed foods completely. So we went to meat, carb, vegetable lifestyle plus breakfast prep. So I just, even now I get a little more creative every once in a while. We get burnout, but for the most part, I just do a pound of breakfast sausage and a whole batch of scrambled eggs and portion it out for 5 days. So we always have breakfast to take with us to work. And I'm a chicken breast and salmon kind of girl, so I either have chicken or salmon as a general rule. I don't change it up very much, but I'm a creature of habit. My husband, however, he likes chicken thighs and steaks and pork chops and all of these things. And we started seeing more progress, significantly more progress. We both really lost quite a bit more weight. And then I just kept going and I started finding out that food is the number one medicine. The way you eat dictates everything that happens in your body. It is 100% about metabolic function. The further I've gone into this, the healthier we've been, the better we feel on a daily basis. And, you know, we invest more money now in food to eat higher quality food. We don't eat more, we just eat better food for us than we ever have before. And I'm still losing weight. My husband has officially gotten all the way down to his body fat percentage that he wants to be at. He looks fantastic. And now his goal is to bulk up on muscle. So we've changed his eating habits around to bulk him while I'm still on the same trajectory. I just measured again for the first time in probably 2 or 3 months, and I've lost multiple more inches off of my body. So I'm still down the same path, but everything I'm doing is conducive to my lifestyle. We don't eat processed food. We don't eat out very often. When we do, we try not to have it be fast food or anything too processed. If somewhere makes us sick, we don't go back. Because what makes us sick is like processed food. So if anything's too overly processed, we're not coming back. Sorry, not sorry. I don't like feeling bad. I don't like being bloated. Throughout this, I have found that I can't eat carbs at night. If I eat carbs at night, I don't sleep. My husband's fine with it, but if I eat carbs, I'm tossing and turning and sweating, and I feel horrible the next morning. So I eat carb free at night, but I'm perfectly fine eating carbs during the day. I'm a little more choosy about the carbs that I eat. All up, all in, we we actually started really doing the research because, like I said before, I yo-yo dieted my whole life. I did strict cardio only. I think the thinnest I ever got, I was 175 or 170 pounds when my brother got married, and I looked thin, all of that, but I didn't really look healthy. I'm a woman who has a big muscle mass percentage, and because all I was doing was cardio, it really wasn't actually any better for my metabolic health. So having resistance training, lifting weights, using your body against itself, etc., is a huge part of it. And for me, it's an even larger part because I do have a very high muscle percentage on my body. So now I do cardio in the mornings and I do resistance training or flexibility in the evenings. I try to do at least 3 days of resistance training. But basically, I've restructured my life. My husband's restructured his. We did it as a team. It makes it a lot easier if you do it as a team. So if you find all of this out, start giving your husband the rundown because doing it as a team and as a family is so much easier than trying to do it by yourself. I get up in the morning, I do some cardio, I get ready for work, I go work all day. Throughout the day, every 30 minutes, I share an office with my best friend. It's great. Every 30 minutes, an alarm goes off. We stand up, we do 10 squats, we go right back to work. And we do this every 30 minutes all throughout the day. Then I come home and I do some kind of resistance training or flexibility training. I have the home gym, I have different things that I do. Some of my favorite are just body weight exercise. It does work my muscles, it does push a little bit just a little bit less as time has gone on. It's awesome. But I do a little bit of resistance training in the evenings and then I carry on. But on the weekends, we spend a lot of time on meal prep. Actually, if you go find my husband, he's Carter Media Effects on Instagram. You can actually see a lot of what we do because he's been showing his journey, and well, his journey's kind of been our journey. So you could see the changes in him in a really drastic way. We just restructured our lives. So I'm not saying the yo-yo diet doesn't work. I'm not saying that calorie deficit doesn't work. It absolutely does, but it is not a long-term solution. Again, it's how I started this though. I just I just did more legwork this time. I put a little bit more investment in than I ever had before. And the biggest reason was I'm a girl and I've kind of always known how to lose weight. Not that it ever made a difference in keeping it off, but in having my husband ask questions and actually have to look into what he needed is what really drove this. Because, I was someone who watched The Biggest Loser, calorie deficit. They were still kind of eating the same things they always had. They just actually ate them based on the portion size instead. The truth is it's really not enough. It's a great starting point. It's a great way to get going and drop. I dropped weight immediately because it takes a lot of food and it takes a lot of effort to actually be gaining weight. You have to be putting a lot into your body. So all up, all in, the first month of just eating less, you kind of go through withdrawal, like you feel like you should be eating more, etc. Then you kind of fall into that. You go through withdrawal from processed food. I'm going to tell you that right now. Be prepared for it. It takes somewhere between 21 and 30 days to kind of get through that. But if you are willing to commit 3 months of your life to just not eating processed food and doing the hard thing, doing the meal prep, doing the right foods, when you get through it, I walk into the grocery store and I look at stuff we used to buy and it makes me nauseous. Like, oh my word. I cannot believe we used to eat that. That's so gross. Those little Debbie Christmas tree cakes? We used to eat those all winter long. And now I look at them at the grocery store and I'm like, how many chemicals did I put in my body? And I know that seems silly. And for people who are still eating processed foods, it does seem silly. But I'm telling you right now, if you can make it through the 30 days where every time you see that stuff in the grocery store, your mouth waters for it, and then go 60 days past that, that stuff will make you violently ill the first time you eat it, and you won't want to eat it again. I want to give you guys the biggest, best information I can. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just someone who started doing some research into changing our lives for the better because my husband and I want to be fit. We want to be healthy. We want to spend the rest of our lives healthy and feeling well and not being medicated. I've gone from being a severe asthmatic who was, I wouldn't say heavily medicated, but decently medicated. I had 2 or 3 things that I had to take every day to now I don't need medication. So, and I also don't have asthma attacks anymore. I can do cardio and I can exercise and I don't have asthma attacks, which is something I never experienced in my life. And it's just been 2 years of finding the right things for my body. So, whatever I end up telling you that I've done, you can try it or not, run it by your doctor, but your body is going to react to different things. My husband does better with fattier meats and that kind of thing than I do. My body doesn't respond well to the excess fat. It's great with high protein, so not great with excess fat. Not something, it makes me sick. I feel sluggish. I don't feel right. But if he goes too lean, he doesn't feel right either. So everyone's body is different and you're going to react to different things. And you just kind of need to test and trial what makes you feel good. Again, he can eat pizza and he can go right to sleep like the dead. If I eat pizza before bed, I'm awake. I'm awake at midnight. I might fall asleep, but then I'm awake at midnight. I'm sweating through the sheets. I feel horrific. And I'll say there are weeks where I don't exercise. And it used to be, if I was on a crash diet, if I didn't exercise, I was back to gaining weight. And I didn't really understand it other than I thought, man, I'm going to have to exercise every day for the rest of my life. You know what? No, sometimes there's weeks where I don't get enough exercise. I don't feel well. I had, if I have the flu or whatever, I don't feel like getting up and exercising. I don't. And I've still consistently lost weight because the food choices that I make are what makes the difference.